Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of Thor Ragnarok, or a re-review because I saw it in theaters when it came out, like, I don't know, October of 2017. And this is a really interesting one because a couple of times when I've seen a movie and it just, like, the whole night was perfect, I never see it again because I feel like it's not going to live up to that first experience. And I'm talking about, the company and the theater and the food and, the dinner and everything. I had this, the first Avengers movie was I think it was the first 3D movie I ever saw. I mean, like, the new version of 3D. I saw, like, 3D movies in the 70s, but, and it was just so perfect, and I had the best memories of it. And then I watched the movie on DVD, and I was like, it's like a good 2-part episode of Buffy. Like, it's solid. It gets quite good at some times, but it doesn't really match up to my memories at all. Another movie that I've only seen once, and it was just a perfect experience, was Casino Royale. So I saw it pop up on Netflix, and I'm nervous to rewatch it because those Daniel Craig Bond movies for me are real hit and miss. But anyway, so obviously they got this on Netflix, although they're starting to take the Marvel movies off. I'm pretty sure they had 2 of the Iron Man movies, and it's driving me freaking insane that if I want to watch Iron Man 3, I have to buy it for $15. What the? Can we bring back Blockbuster stores, please? Like, this is ridiculous. But anyway, like I said, when I saw Thor Ragnarok, I absolutely loved it. Although for business reasons, I had to step out into the lobby a couple times. So I remember thinking, this is so great. I know I'm going to probably see this in the theater 3 more times, so I can miss scenes here or there. But I got really busy. A bunch of stuff happened. I didn't see it in the theaters again. And then Avengers Infinity War came out, and they were kind of doing a lot of the shticks from Thor Ragnarok. So I kind of downgraded it in my head a little bit. I go, maybe it was just cool because it was new. I don't like the Thor Ragnarok style bits they're doing in Infinity War that much. They were okay, but they weren't great. So I rewatched this today, and a couple of amazing things happened. Number one, I completely forgot that this movie was over 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours, 10 minutes. I remember it as being a very, very quick but fun movie. So I was expecting this thing to be like 100 minutes long. So it is, 2 hours and 10 minutes. It moves along very, very quickly. The other thing that I've brought up in a lot of my videos is I have extreme ADHD, and I sometimes watch movies literally 1 minute at a time over 2 days. The more I like it, and especially with the pace, the more I can watch. I was watching 5-10 minutes at a time. I know that might sound really weird, but for me that was amazing. So Thor Ragnarok is the third movie in this franchise. It came, Thor the Dark World was like 2013. Wow, that seems really, really long ago. I think the first one came out in 2010 or 11, and the sequel, Thor, everyone seems to have like kind of solid memories of Thor. The main thing I notice when I catch Thor on cable is that Chris Hemsworth looks like a baby in it. I don't know, he's like 24 or something like that. But I remember I've never really been into Thor at all. I like the Walt Simonson run, but I never really cared. I thought he was dopey. One of my biggest Thor memories from when I got into comics as a kid, I had my little brother, so I'd tell him, be careful with comics. And one time he stepped on a Thor comic. It was on the floor for some reason. He got all worried. And I remember telling him, I go, it's okay. It's Thor. It doesn't matter. So when the first one came out, I was like, oh, that was actually solid. I thought it was going to be terrible. The main thing I got from the first Thor movie is I said, if you can do Thor and you can do Asgard and you can do the Destroyer and all these characters, you can do New Gods. Now, New Gods is a franchise, New Gods Fourth World is a franchise I legitimately love. So I didn't really care about Thor, but the idea that this could lead to New Gods was very exciting to me. I know they're two different companies. This is just how my mind works. So Thor: The Dark World came out, and I don't remember anyone really being excited for it to come out. It's just like, oh, they got Thor sequel. You're like, okay, but it's like all different people making it, behind the scenes. So it's like, and I remember the trailer was good, but oh my gosh, I went into hypersleep during that thing. Like, I saw it like 7 p.m. I couldn't stay awake for 10 minutes. I'm not 80. In fact, I was like 40 when I saw it. I wasn't even that old, whatever. But oh my God, I just couldn't take that. I just remember waking up every 20 minutes and seeing Kat Dennings' boobs and going, okay, so she's in a lot of scenes apparently, and then falling back asleep immediately. So then, it was a couple of years and they kept kind of announcing it. But it seemed like there was not... It seemed like even Chris Hemsworth was not really enthusiastic about it. It seems like he liked being in the other Marvel movies, but he didn't care about... So then they came out, and, the trailers were good, the reviews were good, and I saw it. I absolutely loved it. But this is about rewatching it a year and a half later. And I've got to say, this movie has held up better than any other Marvel movie I've ever seen. Although I do have to rewatch Winter Soldier, because that was also really good, except for I saw it in 2D. No, I saw it in 3D, but wasn't the 3D like really bad for that movie? I remember one time they went to go look at a helicarrier, and it looked like they were looking at a picture of a helicarrier like projected on a wall. But man, this thing hit on almost every cylinder, except for the thing that always loses me, which is the big superhero finale with a million things happening and a million things exploding. I usually go into a trance-like state, and I think about everything but once they start kicking in all the CG special effects and everything's moving around, my brain just switches off. But this one I was actually able to follow it, although the geography got a little weird. Like at one point, Hulk and Fenris go into the water, and then they're just down there for like 5-10 minutes. There's also a point where these bad guys are trying to stop the Asgardians from getting on the ship to leave, but then you see them in the background, and they're just kind of casually just waiting in line to get on the ship. And also, the gangplank is really, really wide. There's no reason for it to take any amount of time. It's not like a little skinny one, like when you're going onto a Carnival cruise line or something like that. But anyway, this is, it's Thor Ragnarok. It's basically a couple of things. One thing I got to downgrade, though, is when it came out, I kept saying, okay, so this is a guy, Taika Waititi, who's stealing the James Gunn formula and applying it to Thor. And now I found myself not thinking about James Gunn's movies at all while watching this, because when I said that, when I thought that at the time, I had never seen any of his other work. First of all, I forgot that he was like the roommate in Green Lantern. Okay, but what I saw What We Do in Shadows, or at least I saw half of it. It wasn't really my thing, so I just kind of quit. But when you see What We Do in Shadows, it's the same humor, it's the same almost everything in Thor Ragnarok. So Thor Ragnarok is, moved it into comedy, but I've got to say, I remember it mainly as being fun and funny, but I forgot how solid it is. And I mean like in every single aspect. The narrative, the dialogue, the humor, the fights, the effects. The effects were better. And I don't mean better in that, higher resolution 3D models or whatever. I'm talking about integrated into the storyline and not obviously handed off to some other unit. Like I feel when I watch Avengers Endgame, once it gets into the fight scenes, it feels like the Russos are somewhere else, and it's just a bunch of special effects guys and storyboard artists doing those scenes. And a woman who is evaluated, I think, to be the director of Black Widow, she basically said that. She told Marvel Studios, she goes, I'm not, comfortable with action scenes. I haven't done them before. And they go, don't worry, you don't even have to do it. That's a whole nother unit that does that stuff. So the action, everything was good. The other thing that I really, really like is it looks like they were doing improv, but they were doing improv the right way. So they let Chris Hemsworth and basically everyone do a ton of improv in Ghostbusters 2016. And it was awful because improv is, for the most part, awful. The only good part about improv is to just try out a bunch of things and find that 1 in 20 or 1 in 50 things that actually work, and then work them into the story. There was also just like good humor that was almost like, it almost has to be improv, because if you wrote it in a script, it wouldn't even read as a like humorous line. Like at one point Thor meets Doctor Strange, and he's like, so you guys have wizards here, but but the way it doesn't seem like it would be funny. It almost seems like just like a put down in a script. But he does that. He does a little bit of like clumsy what would you call it, stagecraft or whatever, and it's really, really funny. There's even things that I don't even think, I think they're barely even a joke, but they made me laugh. At one point, Doctor Strange offers some tea, and he goes, I don't drink tea. And he goes, what do you drink? And he goes, not tea. Like, that's stupid. I don't see any screenwriter writing that down. I can see you doing it during an improv session and everyone going, that doesn't, I don't know why that's funny, but it's funny. There's lots of little bits like that. But I forgot that there was a good character arc. There was some good emotional beats with, Thor and Loki. And oh my gosh, Cate Blanchett, I used to be a lesbian, and she turned me into a straight white man. But I've just had a crush on her forever. Every single thing she does. Well, not every. Okay, I'm going to dial it down. Anytime she's doing some dialogue, she's cutting someone down or being sexy, it's good. But I wouldn't call her the weakest part. But at some point, she's just an OP Power Rangers villain who generates spikes and throws them at people. Like, she doesn't even seem to have much of a plan. She takes over, and then at one point she's kind of taken over, and they mention, oh, there's revolution, and then she tells her 6 cards. She's like, I guess deal with it? Like, did you not imagine actually ruling Asgard? You seem instantly bored with it. But the good thing is most of it is not in Asgard. I've always found, ironically enough, Asgard is the worst scenes in any Thor movie. But all the stuff on Sakaar. All the stuff on Sakaar. Oh my god. Okay, so like I said, the last time I saw it, I had to step out to take a bunch of calls, and it was work-related stuff. And I somehow missed like almost every Grandmaster scene. And Jeff Goldblum, I know he's a national treasure. I was dying at the stuff. He does this banter. He's got like a major domo, like a second in command woman. And then there's all these funny jokes. He's like, I always talk about you, and I say you're the bee. And then she says something like really mean. He goes, that doesn't even start with a B. No, I was saying she was the best. And then at one point, she's like, Grandmaster, the slaves are escaping. And he's like, she says something like, the slaves are hacking into the mainframe. He goes, oh, I don't like that word. She goes, mainframe? He goes, no, why would I have a problem with the word mainframes? I don't like that other word, the S one. And he goes, use the phrase that I use. She sighs and she goes, the prisoners with jobs are trying to start a revolution. That's funny. And all the stuff with Grok, whatever was the rock creature that Taika Waititi did the motion capture for, or whatever, acting for. That stuff was good. And again, I've said this in a million videos on my other channel. The trick to comedy it's like that line from Clint Eastwood where he's like, a man's got to know his limitations. The trick to comedy is almost everyone is at least a little bit funny. The trick is to find out how funny you are and aim for about 90%. Never go for anything near 100, because what fails is when you reach, what is that? Your reach extends your grasp, whatever, you know what I mean? You try for something you're not capable of doing, and then that starts to give you really bad, it's like credit, it's like a credit rating. You tell a couple light jokes that they're all good, all right. Well, as soon as you start telling jokes that don't land, oh my gosh, your credit rating tanks. So I noticed like the first time I didn't remember any jokes flopping. I didn't notice any flopping this time. I was very entertained. I'd say the biggest problem both times was Valkyrie, because she just doesn't have much of a character. She's just smug and rude, and that's it. And then when he becomes a king again, she's respectful. But I found her annoying most of the time. There's a bit where they introduce her and she's like drunk and she falls off she has this really cool gangplank on the front of her ship. Her ship is awesome, by the way. The production design, at least all the stuff on Sakaar, was awesome. She has this really cool ship, and then she walks down and she falls off the side. So you're like, oh, they're going to do bits about her being, a clumsy drunk. But then everything, she's just like Mrs. Cool Toes. And then Hulk loves her. He just thinks she's the coolest ever. It's like, this isn't fun when you do this, especially, this happens a lot with female characters in comics where they just have everyone like them. Really say there was any kind of an arc. And from what I can tell about the lore, she was supposed to be much, much older than Thor. So I don't know, they just seemed like contemporaries. But I loved all the stuff with Banner. There's jokes I didn't even notice the first time where he keeps pulling at his crotch. And Thor's like, stop that. Why are you doing that? And he goes, he's wearing Tony Stark's clothes. And he goes, Tony wears his pants really tight. Now, they do the joke for that. But then in a couple other scenes, you see him pulling at his pants. It's funny. All the Hulk stuff worked. The Hulk looked good. I still feel like the Ang Lee Hulk looked the best. I mean, the same thing with the Iron Man. You watch Iron Man 1, the armor looks like metal. Even the CGI, it all looks like plastic now. So it feels like CGI peaked in like 2010 or something like that. But I just love it. It's one of the things I like. It's not an origin. There's not that much tying it into the other stuff. My daughter, I don't think she's seen any Marvel Studios movies. So I was like, I think she could just jump into this and it would just be like a fun, silly movie. Besides that, just good. I freaking loved it. I can actually see this if I ever get back into drawing. This is like a good background movie. You're doing something, you're drawing, you're folding the laundry, and you're cleaning, and you just put this on in the background. I just had the best time. I know there's no plans for another sequel. I definitely want to see Taika Waititi. I mean, I'd love for him to be on these same characters again. I haven't heard anything about it. They talked about him maybe taking over Guardians of the Galaxy 3 when James Gunn was off of it. But I don't think he would have taken that because he would have been considered a scab. So I don't know what he's doing. I know they got a What We Do in Shadows TV show, but I want him back on a Marvel movie ASAP. He was just fantastic. Besides that, I think I covered all of it. The thing at the end. So I talked in another video about I was rewatching Suicide Squad, and it was just excruciating because they have these like putties from Power Rangers that they're fighting like half the scenes. So Hela, she resurrects these old warriors, but they're just zombies. They're just putties from Power Rangers. And the whole last scene is just Asgardians fighting a bunch of these putties, and it's so lame. I really, really hated it. So, although there is a weird kind of thing with this, it's kind of like Aliens 2 to Aliens 3, where they save all the Asgardians, and in the next movie they're all dead. So it's like, it's got a bittersweet ending. But anyway, tell me what you think about this video. And I'll have another video up tomorrow. I'm probably going to do this latest episode of Star Trek Discovery that's coming out tonight. Thanks for watching. Bye.